Hi guys, welcome and thank you for tuning in today. I'm Tanya from Klenty and I'll be your host for the seminar. Today we'll be talking to Niresh Nagarajan. He heads the sales team here at Klenty. Hi Niresh,
Hey Tanya, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
All right. So, in this webinar, we'll be picking Naresh's brain on how having visibility into sales conversations can transform your sales process and help you build a consistent pipeline. All right. Naresh, let's get into it. Right.
Sure.
You've been leading the sales team here at Klenty for 2 years right now, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah.
In your experience, what are some recurring challenges that you faced or your team faced with prospect conversations and, some challenges you face while trying to manage your team?
Yeah, the biggest challenge we face was a lack of visibility into any sales conversation, right? Be it the discovery or the demo. So we weren't getting any visibility out of it. So the only way we were able to do it in the past is to review the entire call, which is which consumes a lot of our time. Right? It took hours to go through each call and to get valuable insight from them, if there is any, correct? So without reviewing calls, the problem is we weren't able to get any insights into buyers' behavior, right? The lack of which made it hard to understand what elements drove our prospect to buy our product. In this term, correct?
Right.
So this again further snowballed into not knowing why deals get stuck. Correct. So with getting closed up, and if we were winning the deal, we didn't know why we were winning those deals. Or if a deal gets stuck in the pipeline, it was difficult to understand why it was stuck. Was it because of the sales process, or was it because of the product, or the demo, or the trial in general, right? So we weren't able to get those insights since we were not getting any visibility on the on the conversation part, right? And also, it was difficult to understand common objections or any competitor insights. So we were very unclear about it. And this is the call aspect of it. On the other hand, it made it difficult for me to understand how my reps performed on calls, right? So each rep is different, and giving them general feedback wouldn't really help in coaching them effectively, right? So each individual rep will have their own traits or style in running a discovery call or a demo, right?
Mhm.
So we cannot just generally prepare a framework or a feedback or a continuous feedback for have a common questionnaires for all these, right? So we need to figure out or pinpoint what are the specific good traits about a particular rep, or what are the specific traits that they need to work on. So those sort of insights were missing because of this lack of visibility on the conversations.
Right. You mentioned general feedback, right? So, can you maybe elaborate on that and give us some insights into how you would prefer to coach your team?
Yeah, for me as a manager, I to know what my reps are doing on calls, right? And each rep is different. As I said, they work across time zones, and so they have their own strength and areas they need to work on. Correct. So as long as the calls are going good, probably we might not we just we overlook certain aspects of the call, right? Before it becomes a problem, we need to figure out those areas that those reps need to work on, because we work deals that ranges uh, you know that ranges between sizes, right? It could be a small deal or a big deal. So as a rep, you cannot go with the same intention for all the deals, right? You need to be able to segmentize deals. It could be based on the size or based on the industry vertical that they serve, all of that, right? These contextual feedbacks, if we want to give on the conversation, we need much more insights towards the calls that they have with the prospects, right? So
Right.
we cannot just give a general feedback or we cannot have common feedback for all the reps across time zones. So maybe that doesn't help them grow as an individual rep into their process.
Okay.
So that's what I meant, giving a general feedback on the training aspect of the call.
Right.
Also, we also want to pick certain traits of a particular rep and pass it on to other reps. If that particular trait is good enough
Right.
and replicable for other team members, so we should be able to pick those points and try to imbibe that into the whole sales culture as well, right? Like
Right.
calls helps us to get there ideally, to build a very repeatable process.
So, how did not having visibility into these sales interactions affect your team?
Yeah, the day-to-day calls were affected. They weren't able to, as I said, discern best practices and apply them across all the call, because it was impossible to review each call and identify what worked and what didn't, right? On calls, they were always multitasking. They were conversing with the prospect and at the same time trying to jot down every small detail, right, as notes, as something they want to update in the CR, which is impossible, right? Your attention is split between two separate tasks, and either one of them or worse, both tend to be compromised. So, in the end, they end up with unreliable notes. This meant that key details from the calls were missed, and reps weren't able to follow up with context. This led to confusion and misunderstanding in future calls and a whole lot of back and forth that added unnecessary bumps to our days.
Mm-hmm.
Since they didn't have a way to reflect on their calls, they couldn't identify common pattern in buyer behavior, making them blind to key, deal drivers, so on.
Okay. All right. And did this have an impact, like a direct impact on your pipeline and your sales?
Yeah, it did, especially with stall deals, right? Deals that get stuck in the pipeline. We couldn't pinpoint the exact reason why they weren't moving forward, right? So understanding how the call went, things like the prospect understood the product, whether they had a good experience with the rep, these small details add up significantly to tell us if the deal is likely to progress or not, right? Any red flags within the demo, right? If you were able to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough to pick up on small action that may have left the prospect confused, like whether there was a proper plan of action at the end of the meeting, if the rep asked the right question, and whether the prospect spoke enough, right? So we don't want a sales conversation to be more like a monologue kind of thing, right?
Monotonous.
So we expect that to be more conversational. So any takeaway out of the call is that, did the prospect speak enough, right? That's the one of the major parameter we look into every call.
Okay.
So we could take preventive measure if there are any red flags on the call. So it did impact the pipeline and the leads.
Okay. So, while you figured out all these problems, were you able to find any solutions or find any alternate approaches, any alternate solutions for this?
Yeah, we did try a few recording tools out there in the market, but they didn't really help quite as much. We still had to listen to the entire recording all over again to spot important moments, which was a huge time suck, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because the idea is we were getting the transcripts and it was not able to segmentize the areas that we want to listen to specifically, right? So rather than just reading through the entire transcript, I might well as just listen to the call. So just transcripts alone was not adding any value to the conversation, correct?
Right.
So one of the major things we were looking out is that adding labels to the conversations, right? During the course of the call, were they able to figure out any challenges or pain points for the prospects? If they did, which part of the call they did, right? If they discuss about pricing or budget, again, which part of the call they did, right? So we need those kind of breakdowns, right? Exactly at which point of the call they discuss about certain aspect of the call. As a manager, I just want to go through those aspects of the call rather than the entire call. right? But that was not available with existing vendor out there in the market. And also the most important thing, the UI was complicated, right? There was a lot of bells and whistles added to the product,
Right.
probably which I might not use at all at the end of the day, correct? So it was
Right.
not very simple to use. The problem was I don't want to buy a tool and spend some more time learning the tool, um, before seeing the output of the product, right? So I need I need a tool which is straightforward, easy to use, a plug and play types, right? You have to just install the product and get things going. So these are the things that was a bottleneck when we evaluated tool, or in fact we tried couple of tools. We implemented a couple of tools in Klenty and tested those, but it didn't quite work out for us.
Okay. So, how did you solve this? Like, how did you come to a solution?
So not us, our product team did. So basically, we relayed all those feedbacks to the product team, and we were parallelly checking out other tools as well. But product team, what they did was they built the whole conversational intelligence aspect within Klenty, and so that solved the problem. So what started out as solving our internal sales problem, we
Mhm.
were able to build product out of it, and that's what now it's called as Call IQ.
Okay.
Now Call IQ makes our life so much easier. We get to see all calls are meeting at one place. Transcripts and summaries are generated almost instantly. The best part is Call IQ is as customizable summaries, right? Which means we get to see things that matters to us. As I said earlier, as I pointed out earlier, the segmentation between challenges, pain points, or budget, pricing, all of those objections, all of these are now segmentized, and so that it's very easy for me to just understand the sentiment of the call in general. Needless to say, the time taken to review calls has drastically reduced. We do that in minutes now.
Mhm.
And suppose while you're pursuing a part of moment in the call, when your rep could have done something differently, you can highlight that and leave a comment as well. This also solves the feedback and coaching problem that I was talking about earlier, right? So it's just not applicable for the existing reps. Even if new reps join our organization, so it's easier for us to train them using this instant feedback, feature within the product.
Right. So, how did your current sales process or your existing sales process change after using Call IQ?
We were able to build a repeatable process, right? So as I said, we were able to review all the good calls and pick out why the call was good and try to jot down as a framework. And also, we also worked on things like the areas that AEs or the reps can work on, making them as a better, making them better at what they do, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So this helped us to converge and build a framework and build a repeatable process for the entire sales life cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, as I pointed out earlier, it helped in coaching as well, coaching or training the reps,
Mm-hmm.
continuous feedback loop. So I don't need to wait for a day or two, or have one-on-one in order to relay all those feedbacks. It was very continuous, very instant. I can just you know uh, uh, choose the area that they need to work on, just comment on that, just collaborate instantly. And also searchable transcripts. It is not that I need to go through all the transcripts, all the calls. I just want to lay out or just listen to the important calls. So I can just search transcript based on the email address or just the company name or the first name, all of that. So easy to get all those transcripts. And also customizable summaries. Customizable summaries in the sense, when the call gets done, there is an instant summary that gets relayed into our Slack channel. So we have this direct integration into the Slack channel, so that rather than going and looking at the entire transcript, we get this beautiful summary of the call that gets into our Slack channel. So meaning that we don't need to log in into Klenty necessarily. We can just get into the Slack, look at the summary of the call and figure out whether it's a positive or negative call or what is the general sentiment of the call. Correct. And also we can analyze the performance of the call, right? The top metrics, the areas, what are the talk ratios between the prospect and between the reps. All of this can be tracked. I mean, that made an immense change in our entire process when using Call IQ.
That sounds great, Naresh. Sounds like it solved a lot of your problems. Would you mind giving us a quick demo or a quick walkthrough of Call IQ?
Yeah, sure. Just give me a minute here. I'm going to pull up my screen. So this is the dashboard view that you get the moment you sign into the system. So the left-hand side will be able to see the My Meetings tab, where you'll be able to see all the personal meetings that's been scheduled. Next comes the team meetings, where you'll see all the call that has already happened. And then comes the upcoming meetings, right? All the meetings that's been scheduled for the week or for the month, which includes date, time, and the attendee details. Now, getting into the call, on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see the call recording. Below that, you will see the call metrics as well. So this gives you talk time metrics of all the users who are present on the call, be the users or the prospect, you'll be able to get those insights. Next comes the transcripts. You get the entire transcript of the call, which includes the user level information as well as the timestamp. And the right-hand side, you'll get various insights, starting with meeting summary. If you don't want to listen to the entire call and just get the gist of the call, you can take advantage of meeting summary, followed by questions. If you want to get the information of all the questions that's been bounced during the call by the prospect or by the AE, you'll be able to get those information right here in the questions tab. Then comes the action items. The key action items that was discussed during the call, be it the use case or the pricing or the next steps, you'll be able to figure out those information under the action items tab. Next comes the sentiment of the call. So if you want to get the general sentiment of the call, be it positive or negative, you'll be able to get those insights right here under this tab, and you'll get a general idea whether the call was positive or negative. If the call was positive, you can see what sort of conversation that happened during the course of the entire call. The same applies for the negative sentiment call as well. Next comes is the comment section. So let's say that you want to relay a feedback to a particular aspect of the call. You can always go to that section or that timestamp of the call and include your feedback to that particular rep. Just tag them and mention the feedback. So the moment you hit the enter button, they'll instantly receive an email notification with a comment that you put in this section. Now, coming to the filter reports, right? So this is the general reports that we have currently. So these are the 4 filters that we have. So if you want to segmentize by user level view, you can always go ahead and choose user level view. You'll be able to see the call taken by that particular user. You can also drill down to outcomes. If you just want to look at positive outcome of the call, you can do that, followed by duration and by the call time. On top of that, we'll also have a date filter. Let's say if you want to look at the call that happened in the past 30 days, you can always choose this. And this view gives you the entire call that has happened in the past 30 days. Now coming to the settings tab, here, this is the entire overview of the settings. Let's say you want to personalize your bot, you can always go ahead and enter your personal name rather than having a generic name like Klenty Note Taker. And this is the general integration that we have. Of course, starting with calendar, we have both Google and Outlook calendar. And also we have CRM integration. Currently, we have Pipedrive, Zoho, HubSpot, and Salesforce integration. And also you can connect your Slack. Let's say you want to relay all the demo transcript to a particular channel. And then you can always choose that particular channel and relay all those transcripts to that particular channel. So if you go to Slack, you'll be able to get the entire summary of the call in this channel. So you don't need to log into the system to get the transcript. You can directly pull them into the Slack channel as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Niresh. That was a very thorough walkthrough. now that we have an idea of what the platform looks like, can you maybe tell us some of the ways that your team uses Call IQ in their day-to-day lives?
So yeah, we used to take all these demos on various platforms, right? It's not just Zoom. We occasionally use Google Meet or Microsoft Teams. Oftentimes, customer wants to use their own conferencing tool. They also send their links. So it need not necessarily be a Zoom. It could be any other platform as well, right? So what happens is that it means we add information across different platforms, correct? So if I want to review a particular call, then I had to go to that particular platform to access those recorded demo videos. So with Call IQ, we get access to all our calls in a single dashboard, irrespective of which conferencing tool the particular rep has used or the prospects, right? So we can easily find calls with a range of filters as well. So it acts as a single repository for us where it gives all the meetings that happen, all the recorded meetings. So we can just go and if we want to listen to one particular call, as I said, we have this powerful search filter. We can just go and enter the email address, prospect information, pull up those calls. Also, we also have this sentiment of the call summaries, right? Based on the sentiment, also we'll be able to filter out the call. Let's say we want to just look at negative sentiment calls, then we can just filter it out, putting negative sentiment and filtering out those calls and listening to those calls.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. And also the transcript and customizable summary, as I said earlier, helped us to skim through calls, correct? So rather than listening to the complete call, we can just listen to the main aspect of the call and move on to the next call and so on. So in a given day, if I have the capacity to listen just 2 calls before Call IQ, now I can pretty much listen to 10 calls, right? Because it's not that I'm going to go through the entire call. I can just pick the moments I want to listen to the call and move on. So in this way, I'm maximizing my time as well, listening to multiple calls and taking notes on those, right? And also, there's been repeating it again and again is the coaching aspect. Efficiently coaching all the reps, right? To be focusing towards single goals, into building a better sales process, building a repeatable sales culture, all of that, right? So if one rep is performing really well and is getting every discovery traits correct, can I pick those calls and share it to the entire team and learn from those, right? This sharing and learning and giving instant feedback has helped us to coach all the sales rep efficiently. So that's one aspect as well. And also collaboration within the company. So one of the major things is after every call, if there is any sort of product feature request, we always we have this internal document like Notion document where we put all those feature requests, and the product picks up all those feature requests and work towards that, right? And there's always this delay of communication between product team and sales team because there's only 2 options. Either we need to upload all those feature requests, and reps usually work across different time zones. So it's not that product team is readily available all the time. So what happens is we tend to put all those details into the feature request, in Notion, and the product team picks it from there. And post that, what happens, product team comes up with saying to get more details on that feature request, right? They want to understand more details, more insights on the feature request. So they ask for a call recording. So usually the call recording is around 45 minutes to 1 hour, right? So obviously it's going to consume a lot of their time to get to the point where they discuss about that particular feature. So with Call IQ, what it has done is that, say if at all there is a new feature request from the prospect, so basically we can just pick that specific aspect of the call and tag that particular member of the product team, right? This way they just get the timestamp of that particular the particular feature request of the whole call, so they can just listen to that and add comments if they want. And so now relaying feedback to the product team also became instant. We need not wait for a day or two, or we need not wait for the to get a timeline on the specific feature request, right? It happens instantly and we're able to collaborate on the move. So that also has helped immensely by using Call IQ.
That's great. Actually, this has been extremely informative. So if as like a final question, if there's anything you want the viewers to take away from this webinar, what would it be?
I'd say the importance of viewing your calls through different lenses, correct? So you need to wait to slice your calls into consumable portions so you can get direct visibility into the insight you want to see instead of going through the entire call to spot these moments.
Mhm. Okay, so thank you so much, Niresh. That was an extremely educational session, and I'm really glad that thank you for your valuable insights on how paying close attention to prospect interactions itself can transform your entire sales process. I think we've been able to understand that. So just to quickly recap, we were talking about Call IQ and how it's a conversation intelligence platform that records, transcribes, and provides customizable summaries for your audio and video calls. So why don't you try Call IQ for a couple of weeks and see how quickly you can get insights into your daily sales interactions. This is Tanya signing off. Thank you so much, Naresh, for joining us today. We hope you have a wonderful day.